You're listening to America's Diesel Podcast.
I've got something kind of funny.
Okay.
Again, this is like the Motor Trend saga.
Okay.
Listen, I know people are probably starting to get a little tired of this same kind of subject, going around, but it's funny.
I just took my first sip of barley juice. God, that's good.
Motor Trend put out the top 10 worst EVs, like as far as efficiency. And guess which one's the first picture?
Ooh.
The F-150.
The industry-leading Ford Lightning, best-selling EV known to man, and the truck
of the year.
The truck that out-trucks
Yeah.
other trucks.
Yeah. Yeah. It just never ends.
You gotta wonder if there's like, if it
Now I'll give them credit. Is not number one. It was like number 4 of the worst
4 out of
ones.
10. The thing is,
But-
I don't even know if I can count on my I don't even know if I know of 10 EVs.
And guess what else was on it?
Was there
Rivian.
like 3 Teslas?
No, there's like a Mercedes. You can pull it up, Motor Trend. But there was a Rivian. There was some Mercedes. There was I think an Audi on there. Just go to Motor Trend.
News or what?
Yeah, I think it was under news, maybe. I don't know. I just poke around on there sometimes and find shit. Truck news? You gotta go truck under news. Maybe not. I don't know where I found that. It was like one of the side article things, I think, on there, but it was on Motor Trend's site. Do 10 most least efficient EVs. Are you guys not finding it? It's literally on my computer at my desk.
Every EV's range from worst to best. Rangefinder? Yeah.
No.
Anyways,
I just thought it was funny because it's like kicking a horse while they're down.
it's like you gotta wonder if like maybe the person making these calls to like put this information out there,
like nobody's keeping track of the series of events that have occurred.
I feel like either nobody's keeping track or one guy back there's like,
they'll never see that.
this.
Yeah, they'll never see that. Little do they know,
Idiots.
Mr. Tyler is like watching them like a hawk. Yeah. Anyways, I thought that was kind of funny.
yeah.
This week's podcast episode is brought to you by Fuel Bomb Diesel Additive, an additive designed for diesel enthusiasts, made by diesel enthusiasts. Ben, take it away.
Hell yeah, dude. So this is our in-house Fuel Bomb fuel additive for your diesel truck. Our biggest thing here is making sure that you can pretty much always have diesel additive on you all the time. You've got a lot of other additives out on the market that they have, anti-gel in there all the time. They have cetane in there all the time. They end up being big and bulky bottles. Our standard everyday diesel fuel additive is 1 ounce per 32 gallons, and that's its main job is to make sure that your fuel system stays lubricated and prevents the formation of algae. And it should also help you in colder climates too.
Should definitely help you in colder climates. Along with cleaning your fuel system and maintaining it, it'll also help you bump that cetane number up for a more efficient burn of your diesel fuel. And if cetane is just what you're after, there's the Fuel Bomb Hellfire, which is our straight 8+ cetane enhancer.
Yeah, and you guys asked, and we brought them back. We did go away from the bottles that didn't have the measuring little parts in there. We brought them back for you, so now you can measure out your 1 ounce per 32 gallons for the F-Bomb or 4 ounces per 32 gallons for the Hellfire.
Both these additives are available on our website, dieselpowerproducts.com. Now let's get back to that episode.
Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in. This is Ben and Tyler from America's Diesel Podcast, coming from Spokane, Washington. Make sure and check us out on Google Play, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, anywhere listen to podcasts. You can find us by searching America's Diesel Podcast. Also, check out our Instagram. We do go live on there every Wednesday right around 5 p.m. Pacific time. Come and beer with the boys, talk a little bit of shit. You can also do that on our Facebook page. in our Facebook group. We do have a Facebook group. It's called America's Diesel Podcast - the group. There are 3 questions that are open-ended. You must answer. Many right answers, many wrong answers. The guaranteed way not to get into the group is if you do not answer anything. I will deny you 100%. I'm the only person that accepts or denies people in there because I'm trying to keep the bots out and I'm trying to keep out people that don't actually listen to the podcast. I want it to be us in there. If you're listening to the podcast, you're welcome. Come on in.
Yeah.
But if you're like, I want to invite my friend, he likes trucks, does he listen to the podcast? Nope. Stay the fuck out.
Yeah. That's
Simple as that. Tyler reviews.
Oh, yeah. Let's keep those reviews coming in. We are moving up in the ranks. We greatly appreciate it. You send your review from your listening platform. I butchered this one. It feels like it's been a long time since we've done a podcast, but it's really only been like a week.
It's literally been a week. Yeah.
Anywhere you listen to the podcast, leave a 5-star review, screenshot that, send it to podcast@dieselpowerproducts.com. Make sure to include a picture of your truck and an address, and we'll send you a sticker.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right. Today, we are going to be helping out a podcast listener, also a podcast group member,
I like it.
Seth Moa, down in California. He recently just purchased a 06 Dodge Ram crew cab long bed. He is a fellow flip-flop wearer. Likes flip-flops. Flip-flop diesel man. Also, Asian. Good job.
Yeah.
There's at least 2 Asians that I know that drive diesels.
Right on.
Actually, no, 3. There's 2 in the group and one of my friends.
So you guys are smart.
There's 3 of them. Yeah. Well, actually, one of them, I know for a fact he is smart, but he drives one of the dumbest diesels known to man. I feel like he and I, that's why we're friends.
Is that the 15? Which one?
What
What kind of truck?
It's a 6.5.
Oh, God.
Actually, it might be a 6.2. I can't. No, it's 6.5. It's 6.5.
He either knows something we don't know or he's not smart.
You want to know something even better?
What?
Last time I talked to him, want to know what type of company he works for?
What?
Navy company.
Really?
Yeah.
He's driving a 6.5?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they love him there when he pulls up.
That's why he's my friend.
Okay.
He's like,
Fair enough.
He's like one of those guys like, I can do a really good job for you guys, but just so you know, like
Yeah.
in your parking lot full of all these hot, like nice, efficient vehicles, I'll be driving a big, dirty diesel truck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm also probably smarter than all of you.
Yeah.
So fuck off.
Yeah, fair enough.
Anyway,
Fair
Seth, I saw your recent post that you are getting ready to do some tasteful mods. And that you are still a college student working 30 hours a week. First off, A+ if you are going to school and still managing to work 30 hours a week. That shit ain't easy.
And trying to beef up your truck. Badass, man.
Yeah. Get it all done before you get married, my dude.
Yeah.
Good
Get it
call.
all done so you can sell it to buy a house.
Yeah. I hate to say it, but I mean, he ain't wrong. Yeah. I'm trying to, I couldn't remember. Okay, he's got a 246 on it. So he's got some miles on it. Definitely got some miles on it. What is it? Oh, it's 246 or 243? It's got 240 something. We'll call it that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And from what we can tell from the other comments, it is a bone stock truck.
Great platform.
Great platform.
Yeah.
I'm very happy that you're happy with it. So let's talk about things you can do and what you should be looking out for on this truck if you're going to start messing around with it.
Sure.
First things first, let's talk about at 240-ish, 100,000 miles, what's getting ready to fail?
Well, there could be a number of things.
Yes. I will. And when I say stock, I mean he still has Y-style steering.
Yeah.
But the truck is in good operating shape, good operating order.
You know, these are great trucks. I absolutely love them. Do they have certain issues that you definitely want to at least look into, verify that they are good to go? Yes, absolutely. First things that come to mind is before any performance modifications or anything of that nature, you're going to want to make sure she can drive straight down the road.
Yeah.
And that entails the steering, checking tie rods, ball joints, steering gearbox. Just go over it with a fine-tooth comb, U-joints, making sure that you don't necessarily have to replace it right away. You could certainly wait until something, fails, but just go through it with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that it drives nice. And you're not going to have, you don't have, a ball joint on its way out or a tie rod on its way out or things like that. If everything checks out, you may look into adding like a steering box brace just to kind of help especially the steering box last a little longer if it feels nice and tight. But going through the steering is going to be one of the main things, because that's it's gonna make you shit your pants going down the road if you experience the old death wobble on that thing, especially if you have your significant other in there, or anybody at that rate. So just making sure that the steering is tight. Like I said, you don't, like Josh here, he's got an 05.
I think that was an early 04.
I think he still has old steering on it.
No, he does.
Did he upgrade it?
Yeah, he's got Mopar steering on it.
Okay.
Mopar T-style.
But you can still find trucks that are still tight in the steering department, but just know in the back of your head that is something that you're going to eventually want to address.
Yeah.
Just because it is a common failure point on those trucks. Moving down the line underneath the truck with that kind of mileage, I hate to say it, but if it's a stock truck, you're probably fine, and especially if it's been serviced regularly. Transmission. I mean, the 48RE isn't known to be a transmission that lasts the test of time, especially with miles on it. And if the guy used it for towing and whatnot, not saying that it's going to be completely gone. Checking the fluid, changing the fluid, if you're unfamiliar with the way, automatics work, you can, sometimes feel of a transmission slipping on you under power. And if that's the case, then obviously you want to get that addressed before you start adding any more power to the truck, because it's just going to make that issue worse.
Yeah. Now is the time for you to find a good transmission guy locally to you, or at least somewhat close to you, especially before you actually have to do anything.
Yeah.
And this is where you can kind of vet them.
Yeah.
So what a lot of people will do when these transmissions get more miles on them is they'll kind of go in there and they'll tighten the bands or adjust the bands. First things first, I am not a transmission wizard by any means. Okay?
Neither am I.
Yeah. But if you walk into a shop and I know you probably aren't either. Just let's be real, none of us are.
Yeah.
And you mentioned like, hey, I was hoping to have someone just kind of give me an overall wellness check on the transmission. If it's like a $200 labor charge or something like that, hook up a pressure gauge to it, check it all out, and see if they mention anything about adjusting or checking the bands.
Yeah.
If you talk to them and they're like, oh yeah, we can do that, and they literally don't mention the bands, either they're thinking you don't need to know that, or they don't know. And if they don't know and they're not willing to tell you what they're going to do, not a good shop for you.
Yeah.
And I will say this also, good transmission guys are not cheap, and you fucking treat them like they're your kids or your dad or your uncle or something like that. You never lie to your transmit. Same thing with doctors.
Yeah.
Like you don't go to the cheapest one, and you never lie to them, because they're going to find out, and it's only going to cost you more in the end.
Yeah.
So find a good transmission guy, and hopefully that can get you in the right direction. But with 240 on it, chances are the bands have already been adjusted. If I recall correctly, you get pretty much 3 adjustments out of them.
Yeah, and it should be an external adjustment on those transmissions, if I'm not mistaken.
And the third one is basically like a Band-Aid go for broke.
Yeah.
It's like, I was able to adjust it. I can tell it's been done twice. This is the third time. This is basically like to hold you over until you can get a new transmission.
Yeah.
This is not like, oh, you're good to go for another 50,000 miles. Like, no, this is like, figure it out.
Yeah.
Before we go too much further,
Yep.
I will say he is already being very methodical about this. Seth, props to you. I like the way that you're going about it. It looks to me like he basically kind of took a page out of our book and just kind of got underneath the truck, started checking things, looking at things, greasing things, just getting well acclimated with how the truck has been monitored and taken care of its entire life. So good job. He already went through, he like greased everything he could find.
Cool.
He found some things that have not been greased. So that gave him an idea of like, okay, if I have a wear point or something starts vibrating, I know these have probably never been greased. That's probably my first place to look. Good job, Seth.
Yeah.
Like seriously, good job.
Yeah.
For being a first time diesel owner to have the wherewithal to do that, nice job. You're also going to be a good house owner, I can tell.
Yeah.
So as we're working our way back down through the truck, so you got your transmission. What comes after that down the line?
Well, as far as like rear end stuff, driveline stuff, At that mileage, I would assume U joints have been replaced on the driveline at some point.
Yeah, at least once.
At least once. If I'm not mistaken, they have those freaking stupid plastic filled.
You got to melt them out.
You got to melt them out, which at that mileage, I would assume that's been done already. As far as underneath the truck, there's really not much more past steering, suspension components, transmission. There's really not much under there else that is going to be a common failure point for you. Of course, you could check, checking fluids and all rear differential fluid, change it if it looks nasty. But basically that's kind of it underneath the truck. Short of, regular maintenance things like brakes and that sort of thing, wheel bearings, of course, wheel bearings too on a Ram, lift it up, spin a wheel, make sure, nothing's dragging.
With it being a crew cab long bed, is that a 2-piece rear drive shaft?
It should have a carrier bearing. Yeah.
I would definitely check out the carrier bearing.
It should.
I'm pretty sure it does too. I feel like as long as configuration, I feel like it's going to.
Yeah.
But yeah, check the carrier bearing, because if that carrier bearing starts walking on you, that's going to cause the pinion to start walking on you, and that's going to cause pinion bearing issues, which then causes ring and pinion issues, which may end up having the pinion slide all the way back and start contacting the carrier.
Yep.
So driveline stuff, I would say, is huge on something like this. If you are going to be doing a lot of fluids, it would behoove yourself, especially with a high mileage truck and being a methodical person, go get yourself a dial indicator and check backlash when you're underneath the truck with the rear diff cover off. That's a great time to do it, and that way like if you pull that diff cover off and you see that like you're already seeing those teeth starting to wear on the carrier, it's like that tells you one of two things. One, either it started and someone fixed it and just put it back in, or two, you caught it before you could hear it.
Yeah, which
is very important.
But short of that, I mean, moving up to basically the engine, injectors. If injectors have not been replaced on this truck, again, kind of doubt it. I'm sure it's probably gone through maybe one set of injectors, maybe. I mean, it depends. It really depends. But there are, things you can do to check the injection system to make sure that it's kind of still within spec. You could do an injector return flow test, and just kind of see where you're at. If it's a good indication to tell you if you got injectors that are starting to wear out. If it's got a long crank time, or it struggles in cold starts or something like that, that may be something you want to look into. Obviously, adding a lift pump to the truck, Ram has not been known for having the best lift pumps, so that would be just something I would just get and get one that's gonna work for whatever you're doing. I would suggest doing like a fleece in-tank pump.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
They're the cleanest installing pumps that we have now, and they're fantastic. They can support up to 800 plus horsepower. So, looking at I wouldn't even test the lift pump. I would just get one, especially if it's got a stock pump still on it, which that one should be in the tank.
Because that will honestly, if you still have a stock one, you still have a stock CP3, and you still have stock injectors, and they're still at least maybe old and not working at their peak anymore, but still working well enough, that will extend the life.
Yeah. And just so you know, if you do the injector return flow test, which is a relatively simple test to do, I believe I have to look this up. I have it on my computer, but I think it's about a shot glass worth of fuel during like 30 seconds of cranking.
Yeah, I think
a minute of cranking.
I thought it was 90 milliliters,
which is about a shot glass.
Was it a minute?
I think it's a minute, which is because I remember reading that. I was like, wow, that's a long ass time to crank on a starter. But that's a good So 90.
So 90 milliliters is 3 ounces.
Yeah,
a shot I believe is an ounce and a half.
Is it?
So that's where one shot glass would be 30 seconds of cranking.
30 seconds of cranking.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's what you're thinking of.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. So that'll give you an idea. Typically on a good running or a good operating injection system, the amount of return flow you want to see is like a drip every like 2 seconds. Like it's very, very little. So checking that if you want to get that deep into it, if the truck's got good power, it starts up right away, your mileage isn't in the tank, you're probably fine. You don't have to go as far into it as doing like an injector return flow test. I would only probably do that if there's some sort of indication telling me that there's an issue happening, whether it be super low fuel mileage, a long crank time where it feels like it doesn't have enough power like it should. That's basically it. Those are otherwise I probably wouldn't even mess with doing the test. If the truck feels strong, it's probably fine. Turbo stuff, usually fine on those trucks. It's still it's a non-VGT turbo. It's a journal bearing turbo. So those, as long as you've got, a good oil, and it's been regularly changed, you're probably fine there.
The other thing there too is if you are on a super budget and then got to get the truck back up and running, rebuild kits for those turbos are like $80.
They're super cheap.
And as long as the wheel wasn't making massive contact with the housing or anything like that, you're good to go.
Obviously checking for oil leaks. Those things are notorious for oil pans that leak. It happens. It's not a huge concern. It's something that you could put off down the road a little bit if it's not bad. Just because the task of doing an oil pan gasket on one of those trucks is kind of a pain in the ass. You gotta unbolt, you gotta loosen the engine mounts, lift the engine up, take all the oil pan bolts out, reach your hand up there to take the pickup tube out, and then once you get the pickup tube off, you can then get the oil pan out of the truck and then reseal it up. It's one of those jobs where it's like the setup for getting the oil pan out is the biggest pain in the ass. Doing it is not bad. But just checking for oil leaks, whether it be a rear main seal, front seal, oil pan, checking all that, or even the whole, the timing cover itself. Just making sure, you fix the leaks before you start adding performance stuff.
Yeah.
But as far as other components, I mean, again, it's all going to be based off of how the truck is running. Because especially at that mileage, again, we've got injector wiring harness that is constantly coated in oil underneath the valve cover, and
going through heat cycles,
cycles after heat cycles after heat cycles, which can cause those wires to be get oil soaked and then cause high resistance, which then can affect the way that the injectors work. Again, if there's something giving you the indication that it's got less power, or again, typically with something like that, it's going to be happening during like a startup. So if it feels fine, let it ride.
Yeah. Quick thing, Seth, you did just comment back on your post, and I just typed back to you. I just messaged that. I was like, I asked how many miles were on it. I said, we're talking about your truck right now on the podcast. So I literally just messaged you back while we're on here. So congratulations, Seth. You're in the mix of it right now.
You're in the mix.
But as far as I'm gonna talk a little bit more about just high mileage ownership in general, and then we're gonna get into like fun parts.
Cool.
For high mileage stuff, if you've been listening to the podcast, you know me. Everything I own is basically high mileage. And when you are trying to make sure that everything's going to work when you're high mileage, the best thing I could tell you is just having the right frame of mind, knowing that at some point you're probably going to have to dump money in this thing, and things every now and then may end up sort of nickel and diming you. So like what Tyler was saying, like if it starts up and runs fine, don't sit there and think to yourself like, oh, these injectors and this CP3, oh, they're good for at least 100,000 miles. No, I would, in your mind, and at least on a spreadsheet or something like that, get a plan going for when those injectors fail or when the CP3 fails, so it doesn't shock you and you know how much you're getting into. And when I say like make a plan for the harnesses, the gaskets, the oil, the filters, the fittings, the connector tubes, all of the parts.
Yeah.
Price them out so you know exactly what you're getting into. And you may price them out now and be like, holy shit, that's more than I really like. I'm not going to. Well, guess what? The truck's running good now.
Now's the time to kind of get yourself prepared, not necessarily prepared for failure, but it's a higher mileage truck. So it's sometimes I feel with higher mileage vehicles, you like, like, oh, everything's running fine right now. I don't have to worry about nothing. And then and then all of a sudden something happens. Okay. You replace it and you're like, okay, everything's good again. And then you drive it like another
week, and then something else happens, and it's like, oh my God, this thing is now like it can give you the feeling that it's nickel and dime, just like you said. If you prepare yourself for that and sort of maybe start putting a little bit of money away, maybe for a 6-pack of injectors, like Ben was saying, and or whatever, it's gonna feel like less of a hit. And especially too, like do what Ben does. His freaking office, half his office is full of freaking parts for his truck that he has yet to put on yet, just because he's essentially setting himself up for other things as well. So it's like, okay, if something fails, I already have it. I already took that hit. Now I can just put it on there, and it doesn't feel like this thing is nickel and diming me now because I already was prepared for that. I have that parts on hand. Overall, I mean, it seems like a really nice truck for the mileage. So I mean, like I said, but don't take advantage of that. Still prepare yourself. Just because it's a higher mileage truck. I mean, shit happens.
Also, diagnosing equipment. Get yourself either like an Auto Ingenuity if you got a laptop or something like that you can use. There are some cheaper OBD2 scanners out there. An Edge Insight is always a great kind of bang for your buck because you can actually do quite a bit of data acquisition with those, and it can still be your monitor while you're driving the truck. But in my personal opinion, if you are planning on working on this all by yourself, and this is your first diesel truck, and you're wanting to be methodical about it, I would get something that's like on that Auto Ingenuity, on that.
I would and
level.
I wouldn't. I mean, here's the thing. If you know how to use Google and like and find shit, the only thing you need, I mean, well, to a point, is a code, So like your $20 little scan thing that I borrowed from you twice, like that's for diagnosing like my wife's car. Like that's all I needed. I just needed to know what the code was, and then I can kind of go from there. And Auto Ingenuity is great if you know how to. It can be slightly confusing though if you're not used to that kind of data that it's going to give you, and so it can make it seem like, oh man, like I should be able to figure this out, but if I don't know how to, read what it's putting out.
I agree.
Then
It can be daunting.
It can be daunting. So, if you know how to use Google and and search shit, a simple code is more than likely all you need. And going back to the Edge Insight, that's a great option. I would think maybe even I would do that before an Auto Ingenuity, just because it's actually going to give you live data that is kind of given to you in a way that has been. That's much easier to read than looking at like an Auto Ingenuity page.
It's true. That's very true. Ty makes a really good point. I'm also a 7.3 guy.
Yeah.
So I have about 8,000 more data points that I got to worry about just to get the truck fucking started in the morning sometimes.
Right. So,
so that being said, let's talk about fun parts.
Yes.
Let's talk about fun parts.
Yeah.
Okay. So on the... Let me get back to your original thing here. It looks like you also commented back. You're going to be on the live today. Frick yeah, dude. Looks like he's actually listening to us right now.
Oh.
Shit, yeah. So he is considering, he's wanting to run Schaefer's oil. Hell yeah. We're looking at an exhaust system. So it's an 06, got a cat, so you can go cat back. When I can't afford it, he says, injectors and a S&B carb legal intake.
Cool. I'll do a lift pump first.
Yeah, I would do a fleece in-tank pump before all of that. This is a buy once, cry once type deal.
Yeah.
You may be thinking to yourself, why not AirDog? Why not Fast? Why not XYZ? Those are not bad by any means. However, things that I like about the fleece pump. One, it replaces the entire sending unit.
Yeah.
That sending unit you have in there will eventually go bad.
Yeah.
And it's not going to give you a good reading on fuel. It's eventually going to go bad. Two, being in California, and I know that your lift pump in AirDog or Fast does not have to have a carb number.
Right.
Okay. But
there's dicks out there.
There are dicks out there. And just anything you can do to not attract attention to two filters hanging off the frame of your truck.
Yeah.
Or even, and I'm not saying everybody down there is like that, but like if it were me, I would be trying to, just not draw as much attention to modifications that I can as possible.
Yeah.
So like even if you go on to, get smogged or something like that, and you do have a CapEx system on there with the factory, cat on there or whatnot, but then they see this pump hanging off there with all these other lines, they're all zip tied up out of the way,
Yeah.
and 2 big ass filters hanging down, they're going to be like, what is that?
Yeah.
And they may just not know and
Yeah.
are not willing to actually look it up and fail you.
Yeah.
I mean, smog people can have a bad day and not do things right too.
Yeah. The biggest thing I hear someone maybe saying is, well, what about the filtration?
Yes.
Okay. There's drop-in filters that you could put in the factory canister that filter down to 3 micron, which is far better than the factory filter.
Well, a lot of the fleece intake, you can add a filter.
You can add an auxiliary filter on it if you want to. They have an auxiliary filter kit that has a spin-on type filter. But again, if you're kind of sticker shocked by the price, you can go with that fleece pump and spend, I don't remember what the Baldwin filters are, but I think they're like sub $20. Do a drop-in Baldwin 3 micron filter in the factory canister. That's even better than the factory filters.
Yeah.
And we sell a shit ton of those.
Yeah,
so
you can get it's for the
that's-
03, 04 and a half.
Yeah.
There's the auxiliary filter.
Yeah. So you can buy that separately for it.
It's
if
a
you
fuel
wanted
filter
to.
water separator.
Yep.
Great option. But yeah, I mean, like Tyler's saying, as far as the price runs you $769 for it. But again, as far as sticker shock goes, you're getting an all new sending unit.
Yep.
Okay. So if and when yours goes out, you would have to buy another one of these anyways to get your fuel level out of the freaking tank.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
there's
a nice,
no
it's-
quarter tank issues.
Yep.
Nothing like that.
It's quiet.
It's quiet.
I don't care who you are, Air Dog or Fast. They make noise. They're on the frame. They're louder than stock.
Yeah.
This one is not.
Yeah.
So
The install on them is just is awesome. I'm a huge fan. I would do one in my truck, but they don't make one for the 50-gallon tank trucks.
oh,
Yeah,
that sucks.
I know.
Hey,
I don't know why.
have you talked to them?
No,
We should annoy them.
I know. It's like why? Why?
Hey, Fleece.
Yeah, what the hell?
We just gave you a huge, nice spot of free advertising on
Yeah,
our
no
podcast.
shit.
Make Tyler a lift pump for his tank, damn it.
I don't know why I don't know what's. It has to be something with. I don't know. It has to be something.
I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't looked.
Come on, Jeff.
I didn't look into it just because it's at this point, again, it's a new truck. It's not really a concern for me at this point. I actually still have warranty on the truck. So, but I would much rather want to do a fleece intake pump than something on the frame. Sorry, Fast. Sorry, Air Dog. But I might be forced to. I know. So,
All right. So yes, lift pump all the way. And yeah, and assuming if you do end up having to do more fuel system stuff on your truck, as far as a CP3 goes, the Fleece CP3K, fantastic option.
Yep.
That will cover you up to like a 50 horse injector, maybe a 100 horse injector. But if you're not trying to make a whole bunch of power, which it sounds like you're not, you're trying to make this into a good, reliable Mato, but just gets up and goes.
yeah. I mean, here's the thing. With that type of build, like there's so many things you could do. Like you could add so many like preventative maintenance things like coolant filtration kits, oil bypass kits, all sorts of stuff you could load that engine bay with. Do you have to do those kind of things? No. Is it something that we recommend? Well, I mean, not necessarily, especially on a 5.9 where you don't have an EGR cooler. You don't have to worry about like those plugging up if you don't change your coolant. Again, maintenance. I know people are gonna yell at me for my differential on this when I'm gonna say this, but maintenance. Checking your coolant. Coolant is probably the number one fluid that gets neglected because nobody thinks they need to change it.
Well, I would
they
say
just add to it.
coolant and brake fluid.
Yeah. So again, get yourself some coolant test strips. Test the coolant. If it's bad, flush that whole thing out.
Like I would say, even before you do a Schaefer's oil change,
Yeah.
and it's gonna sound. I know we preach Schaefer super hard,
Yeah.
but if the oil in there is at least in decent shape, I would do a coolant change because chances are if you don't have documentation on it, no one's done it.
Yeah.
And that way you have peace of mind. 2, I would do a brake fluid change. You would be amazed how dirty and shitty that brake fluid is, even if it's only been changed once in its life.
Yeah.
You go to bleed the brakes and all of a sudden this like murky black stuff comes out. Like, yeah, you should do a brake fluid swap.
Yeah.
And I would also recommend, don't cheap out on the brake fluid.
Yeah.
Because how many times do you want to do this? Brake fluid does break down over time.
Yeah.
So get something good. You can just get like, I don't know if I'm sure Mopar still sells their factory brake fluid.
I'm sure.
That's one of those things where like
Yeah.
I would even buck up and just buy once, cry once, get their
Yeah.
brake fluid.
Yeah. But as far as performance things, if you're looking at injectors, Ben already mentioned it. Do like a set of Dynamite 60 horsepower injectors.
I actually hadn't mentioned those yet, but yes.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I would say
So-
either a Dynamite Ecos or like they have a 50 or a 60 horse.
Yeah.
I know that you do still have to pass carb. You do still have to have a snap test. But I'm going to put some dots together. You talk, because I think I know what you're about to say, but I'm going to connect some dots.
I didn't know what I don't know what I'm going to say.
Okay, so let me pull up some injectors real quick here.
I just actually added a new part to the site. Fleece just made some connector tube hold down nuts that are stainless
Oh.
steel, 300 series stainless steel. Yeah.
Okay.
This is kind of cool.
Okay.
They look cool. They have
mean-
like Fleece logo on them and shit. Like it's
Everything Fleece makes is
I know,
just like
I
really
love-
nice.
It is. We
I wish
also
that-
also have a tuner laying around that was taken off of the old 007 that I have sitting around. That's
Mm-hmm.
that we might be able to
Mm-hmm.
kind of sneak you into California.
He could help you out with that. But what I'm looking for right here is, so Dynamite's got their economy series or their 50 horse series, and what I'm trying to double check right now. Come on, where is it? No shipping to California on that.
Calibrate Power is actually working on carb numbers. I added 3
Yeah.
tuners to the site today that are carb certified for 6.7 Cummins. I think they're kind of working their way back.
So what I would do is, as far as injectors go, I would honestly probably lean towards the economy series.
Yeah.
Just because if you are going to have to pass smog, and I'm not saying Lenny's injectors aren't clean, but you don't want to have to do this twice or work your way backwards. I would do an economy series of injectors. I would do custom tuning from Calibrated Power. They do not have a carb number yet, but here's the thing. And I'm speaking from experience from some other people, some of my friends down in California that have done this. Lenny's injectors run ridiculously clean with stock tuning.
Yep.
If you run that truck through smog, no one's going to pull the valve cover and look at those injectors. As long as your snap test is good and they can prove you do not have any sort of illegal tuning on the truck, you're going to be good to go. Those injectors are going to run smoother and cleaner than stock. And then if you want to crank up the truck a little bit, makes more power, Calibrated Power tuning or calibrated tuning, they are drinking the Dynamite sauce right now.
Yeah, and like I said,
They
they
get
are
it.
working on carb approval.
Yeah.
Like I said, I just added 3 tuners for the 6.7. It's a separate part number. It's a separate tuner. They don't take into consideration any modifications. They're built for, like, these part numbers are for stock trucks.
Mhm.
Although if you tell them you've got Dynamite economies stock,
They'll figure it out.
So look out for that. I would assume they're in process. I don't know. I haven't talked to them, but yeah, that would be a great option to go with
Yeah.
on that
so-
truck to wake it up, and you'll be thrilled with the amount of power that thing can make.
Oh yeah. So fleece in tank pump, CP3K, brand new Bosch connector tubes.
Yep.
You do not need a new fuel rail unless you have a catastrophic failure. You probably might want to look into a new fuel rail pressure sensor. I know the fuse is working good. Just leave it there. Maybe a pressure relief valve. And then Dynamite Diesel economy series of injectors.
Yeah.
You do not need a bigger turbo. You don't need any of that. You could drop those into a 100% bone stock truck and it'll run and idle and just do everything better than factory. We also mentioned brake fluid change, coolant change.
Yeah.
Cold air intake, S&B, hands down. They are the best bang for the buck. People always kind of like give us
Can we ship those to California?
yeah, they got a card number.
Okay. Yeah.
They're
Um,
in California.
Yeah.
There was a
doesn't mean
while
anything.
there was a while where they were in California and couldn't ship to California.
Oh,
Well,
my
they-
wife
they-
used
before
to
they got-
drive by their headquarters
Yeah.
like every day for work.
Well, that was because they had a couple of part numbers that were not. It was for newer trucks that weren't
Yeah.
carb number or carb certified yet, which
But
is
they
weird.
moved.
Yeah. But the sometimes people give us like side eye. They're like, "Really, you recommend like S&B? Like they're not the most expensive?" Like, no, they're not. And that's one of the reasons why I love them. They make like one intake per engine per truck. They make it very efficiently. They make it very high quality. But because they don't have 6 different types of intakes for one truck, they do one thing. They focus. They make the best. And because of that, they don't have to charge a ton of money.
Yeah.
And again, carb certified.
Yeah.
So definitely look into that. You're on the right path with that. Schaefer's fluids, of course, we always recommend that whenever we can. For the exhaust, an MBRP catback 4 or 5-inch system. I would probably do personally. I would do an MBRP 5-inch catback. I would honestly probably do a muffler on it.
Yeah.
The only reason I say that is, again, it's going to sound better than stock, okay? Because that stock muffler is not doing you any favors. It's going to sound better than stock. It's going to have a deeper tone because you are going to a 5-inch. But if you're trying to keep any sort of people off your back, like let's say you lean into it around a corner and there's a police guy there's just having a bad day.
Yeah.
You are, he's going to find anything he can.
Yep.
And even if it's perfectly legal for you not to have a muffler, if you don't have some sort of muffler, he's going to see that as a way to just ding you on a ticket.
Yep.
So don't give anybody reason to do that. And I will say the MBRP mufflers on there, they're not doing a whole lot. Okay.
Yeah.
They're helping out. They're knocking down the raspiness a little bit, but they're there for mostly looks. I'll be honest. If you do end up wanting to quiet it down a little bit, Aero Turbine 5050 XL, best muffler on the market. Other than that, we already mentioned tuning on there.
Yeah.
I think you're doing as far as steering goes. Synergy makes a great kit, but if you like the idea of kind of keeping things factory, you get a Mopar.
Check out that Kryptonite kit I just added to
Kryptonite. I
this.
think Apex Steering even has a kit for
I'm
it
sure.
too.
Yeah.
They got all kinds of cool shit. But you will need to go from a Y style steering stabilizer to a T style.
Yeah.
As far as ball joints go, ball joints are a buy once, cry once. Just spend the money.
Yeah. Get some Carlys. Get some Dynatracs.
Some in there. Synergy makes a great set of ball joints for the money. They're like $550, I think, or something like that.
Yeah. But for an extra, couple $100, you can get a lifetime warranted Carly.
True.
Yeah.
And and he did already mention that for suspension, he is going to start looking at some Carly goodies.
Perfect.
So yeah, stick with Carly, stick with what you know. It's going to work well for you on there. Other than that, man, I think you're definitely killing it. I hope that you don't find the truck rides like shit, because in stock form they do not ride very well.
Yeah.
But just remember,
Easy fix.
Yeah, getting some
Well,
Carly
here's what's
system
cool
under
about
some
Carly.
shocks.
Well, here's what's cool about Carly with, especially for that generation of truck, is you could do like their basic leveling kit, coils and shocks, and then you could always add to the kit, and you could turn that basic leveling kit into a Dominator kit if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So it's something that where you could buy the the only thing you'd be buying again would be shocks, but at that point you have a set of shocks that you could sell to your buddy if he's got the same truck, if he's got stock shocks, So
Or you just use them until they wear out, and then you upgrade.
Sure, absolutely.
But yeah, that starter system, I mean, that's basically going to be front springs, track bar.
I was saying the leveling kit was
The leveling kit, I would still do, yeah. So leveling kit would be, I mean, if you keep it real basic, leveling kit, so springs, front shocks,
Yeah.
and track bar.
Yeah.
Like that's, yeah. So basically, I was apparently not listening to Tyler just now when he was talking, because.
Well, the leveling kit doesn't even come with a track bar.
No, I would do track bar.
I would, yeah. Again, yes. Part of that front end looking at the thing with those trucks too. Speaking of the track bar, I should have mentioned this earlier, but they like to kind of almost oval out the hole where the bolt is on the frame. If there's any play on that joint that's at the frame, you want to address that because that's only going to get worse. And a new track bar isn't necessarily going to fix that. We've even told guys to get like a mild steel washer and have that welded on to where the track bar bolt mounts, so it gives you a nice tight hole to put your bolt in. All right. Yeah, you don't want no wobbly, all right? You don't want no loosey-goosey.
We don't
all
want
right?
no walled out loose holes around here.
No, nice and tight.
You are a Dodge Ram
Yeah,
owner with
nice
a
and
Cummins. Tight.
Then, of course, you're going to have to get your cut-off flannel.
Yep.
Probably
Swap out those flip-flops
for some cowboy boots.
Make sure to tuck your jeans in.
And tuck your jeans into them, and then maybe a big belt buckle, and start drinking Coors Light like religiously. Get a little beer gut going.
Get you a full-size wallet that sticks out the back of your pocket.
Yeah, like basically like a checkbook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
In fact, maybe go back to checks.
Yeah.
Screw debit cards, go to checks.
Yeah. Get yourself a flip phone.
Yeah.
You know? Do what you gotta do.
Dude, live the part, all right?
Yeah.
Embrace it.
You're a Cummins man now.
Yeah, yeah. Get a big old Cummins. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Also, just so you know, even if you didn't do it, your record already probably has some sort of domestic violence issue on there. You are a Cummins driver now, so
Yeah, so you got a domestic violence court date probably
Something.
coming up.
yeah. So now we're gonna commence some jokes. Now it's time for joke session.
Okay.
Here's why you should do your steering, and here's why we're probably gonna get canceled. Given you are like an Asian driving a truck,
Yeah.
you probably already have a hard enough time just driving in general, you know, because stereotypically, thanks to Family Guy, I know you're not an Asian woman, but Asian don't drive very well.
Yeah.
Second, you got Y-style steering.
Yeah.
That ain't helping you. Third, you're in college. I'm not saying everybody in college drives hammered, but it ain't helping you.
Yeah.
If it was dollar beer night
Yeah.
and you had your 1.5 beers, you got your Asian glow,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you got Y-style steering with loud exhaust
Yeah.
and fuel filters hanging off the frame. Sorry, buddy. Like,
Yeah.
it's gonna suck.
Yeah. You won't be able to pull out your Asian privilege card for that one.
Yeah. No. I had a buddy in college, Asian guy, legitimately got pulled over around the corner from our fraternity house for a taillight being out, got a DUI. He was
Shit.
driving from the school parking lot to our parking lot.
Wow.
He's literally
That's shitty.
he was on, I think that was South 10th Street in San Jose for a third of a mile.
Wow.
Like the length of the campus.
Well,
He got nailed.
he fucked up.
He fucked up. I felt so bad for him. Just, whew,
Yeah.
don't drive, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Seth, I hope that points you in the right direction. We are about to hop on a live session here because for us, when we're recording this, it is Wednesday. So, yeah, let me know if you need anything. We'll help you out as best we can. I'm not saying that we'll do illegal things, but if you see that no ship to California, just
Or if you want a Smarty SO6 that just so happened to be used on one of our builds that is used,
yeah, cannot be sold as new.
we got you.
Yeah,
Good deal.
yeah. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Now, I did look your profile. You're in Fresno.
Oh, what does that mean? I don't know. I just said, oh, just like it was bad. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, no, you're right. Yeah. Fresno's like, meh. It's not
No,
Bakersfield.
Meh.
Yeah. But
Meh.
still wouldn't want to go there.
All right. Fair enough.
But anyways, all right. We greatly appreciate all you guys tuning in. I hope that you liked this episode. Chase, I hope you liked that technical info because after our last episode, Chase left a comment that he was like, oh, random questions. They're going to answer some tech question. He's like 20 minutes of farts later.
Yeah.
Are you not surprised?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
That's why you love us, Chase. Come on.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
And that's why you're here. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe and check us out at dieselpowerproducts.com.